Hello. Well, since I got really bored, didn't really want to do work, so I'll drink beer and talk about Qudian. For some God knows what reason, people are so into this company. I don't understand. Anyways, I haven't fully looked at their presentation, but after looking at like a few slides, I started laughing. So I thought this was gonna be funny, and then I checked up some stuff, and I thought this might be a good thing to share. So let's see. Now more beer. Remember, this is a drunk live stream, so don't expect, you know, to the spot analysis. But I assure you, it's gonna be funny though. Oh, talking about beer. Don't invest in, well, don't think about companies that are trying to expand on Chinese beer, like trying to expand a beer company trying to expand into China, because in China beer is super expensive and people just don't make money in it. And just imagine Budweiser in here is considered as a premium beer. Okay, so that tells you. I do know Sven picked this company, but he picked this company like 2 years ago or something, and people are still into it. This is crazy. Anyway, so let's go through this thing. Blah blah blah. Okay. So he said focus on serving the massive underbanked. So basically, saying a bunch of people that 430 million that Qudian trying to. The market is large, basically. And well, he's saying we are making money, so fine. This open platform thing, without underwriting, to unpack it, what does that mean? Essentially, Qudian will lend you money if you qualify, and if you don't, they'll send you to a bunch of more shady lenders. And there's been talks about, well, I think the translation in Chinese would be 暴力催贷, but the translation would be like violent recollection. No, sorry, violent collection. Yeah, violent collection. I mean, I don't know if I want to be associated with violent collection, but that's what we have. Yeah, that's basically what they're doing. And okay, so this is gonna make them a bunch of money as, and holy crap! Oh, I didn't actually check this. So, 80% of their revenue is coming, well, net income is coming from this open platform. It tells you how much their other stuff is shrinking. And the other funny thing is that they 1.5 or 2 years ago they were talking about doing this 大白 大白 cars or something. They were a financial company, and they're gonna set up dealerships to become like the next, I don't know, CarMax or something, with finance as a package, like bundled financing. That didn't materialize. They said they were gonna sell 100,000 cars. They sold about 20, and then nothing got shut down, and that was that. That was just part of the string of failures this company has achieved, if you could use that word in this context. So yeah, open platform. That's another word for selling your users to shittier lenders. I mean, they never had good users to begin with. They were fishing at the bottom of the barrel. Okay, so that's stuff. Yeah, payment system ecosystem icon access terminated. Whatever that means. Oh yeah, so just as some history, for a period of time they had access to Alibaba's credit score. Then they were cut out. Then they were kind of fucked. Then they started the open platform. Sounds so much nicer than selling your user to shittier people. And all right, so stuff. What do they do? Leading innovations in fintech. Wow. Distributed clearing technology. All right. Big data credit tech. His English is shittier than mine. App and H5. Ooh, H5. This is a very Chinese. HTML5. Because most people can't say the whole thing without thinking twice. So people shorten it to H5. I still get very annoyed when people say H5. And yeah, please add the dash. God. Okay, so you have app and essentially there's what this translates to in plain English is iOS app, Android app, and web app. That's what they're saying. They're on all platforms, all mobile platforms. That's what they're saying. Yeah, why did you buy so much, bro? Mr. YouTube 34345. You should have watched the whole management team is a bunch of liars. Anyways, credit solution as a service. Well, that's okay. So sure, why not? That basically means they take a cut from. They're basically a pimp, but there are a lot of pimps in this economy, so it's not necessarily bad. But just think of a pimp. They're a pimp, and what else is there? Full suite tech infrastructure. So I don't know what that means. Zero credit risk, low operational. Yes, of course, because you're a pimp, so you don't have credit risk. But sometimes either your hooker or your John comes and haunts you. A credit facilitation service. I don't know what that means. Trained and tested tech infrastructure. Okay, that just means. Why trained? Anyway, I think that just means a mature infrastructure. That's correct their English. Credit underwriting service. Okay, that's fine. Okay, here is the funniest part. That's where I stopped. Right, when I started reading this presentation, this is when I stopped. Because this is funny as shit. 315 databases. Ooh. Jesus. I can create 315 databases on my laptop. What does that even mean? What the fuck? And why are these gears not matching? What the fuck? Ah! And 1,591 cloud-based servers. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Are you hosting it? Do you have a data center? You having these servers, physical servers? Are you buying them from Ali Cloud? And I can buy 1,591 servers too. They don't cost that much. Maybe they cost like, I don't know, 20 yuan per day if you buy the shittiest one. How does this is like the worst kind of 2VC presentation. Like, if you're trying to scam some investor out of their money and you are sure they don't understand anything you're talking about, you put out numbers that don't mean anything. Okay, so what the fuck is this? And then Yes, okay, 118 terabytes data processed. What are you doing with 118 terabytes? What kind of data are you processing? And oh yes, you have billion. Is that number of transactions, right? I mean, so if it's number of transactions, then what the Chinese have 1 billion. So what they had 250 from each Chinese. What? This is just bullshit. And then um so what else is there? You got credit anti-fraud assessment model. Uh, okay, so that sounds like some kind of model. Okay, 800 plus decision rules. Yeah, but what I need is not the number of rules you wrote, is how good this model is. I can write all my rules and I can write 800 rules making no sense. And you have data variable. I think they're talking about features, but it doesn't even sound like people doing machine learning. Like, they're not even attuned to this whole thing, right? Like, data variables. What the fuck? And sure, you can extract all your features, and for anyone that has any knowledge about machine learning, it's not about the number of features you extract, right? You end up with overfitting, you end up with noise. You have to sometimes trim down your features as well. Like, it's just, yeah. Transactional clearing system. Okay. Sure, whatever that. Full cloud-based technologies. Okay, whatever that means. That basically means it runs on AliCloud. Scalable, efficient, stable, and secure. Sure, whatever. I guess like scalable works. Efficient depends really, because like if you have a large enough, well, in their case, I guess it can be true. So let's give them that. Stable and secure. Well, you can be stable and secure with your own data center without any cloud stuff. So it's the same two VC bullshit you have here. All right, so what do we have here? Massive amount of data. Yes, experienced risk manager. 37K transactions per hour. Who are they transacting with? Oh, so that billion is not number of transactions. All right, that makes sense. Well, that's dollar. Sorry, renminbi. So that makes more sense. It was like each Chinese had 250 transactions on this. No. 217 million plus actual transaction backed analytics. Okay, sure. Conservative operating financial structure, low macro risk exposure, 2.2. Yeah, sure, of course. Given this coronavirus stuff, you're gonna have what? Maybe triple your default rate. I mean, who they lending to? The worst credit risk. And who are these people? People with low income or unstable income, like essentially the marginal. And then when you have a overall downturn, what's gonna happen to the marginal? They are either bankrupt, they can't pay, or you can't even get bankrupt in China, so you get stuck with your debt, and then you end up with violent collection. So they are facing people that are prepared for violent collections. First mover in evolving regulation. Oh yeah, so regulation. In terms of regulation, there are basically two ways they can do it. They used to be like a P2P company. They collect money from, like, they would collect money from everyday Joe, and then they lend it out in a pool. But that got shut down after 2018, because there was like a whole street in Hangzhou on which all these fintech companies went bust, and there were like thousands of people that lined up to try to get their investment back, and it's like, oh, give me back my hard-earned money. And it's like, oh yeah, I mean, yes, these were frauds, but why would you lend money to people that have like that are willing to pay 26% APR? Like, these are desperate people, and if you lend to desperate people, expect your principal lost most of the time. Well, not most of the time, a significant portion of the times your principal's gonna lost. But what happened was the ones that got in first, basically Bernie Madoff thing. So the ones that got in first and got out first, they had 100% of their principal recovered. Whoever came in later essentially lost their principal, and then ended up maybe collecting interest for half a year, and then they just lost everything else since these companies went bankrupt, and their bosses end up in jail. And it was quite crazy. I heard a story from my father's friend. His son was working in Hangzhou in one of those fintech companies. Was either, I think it was one of them. They were raided, and they were like, everybody hands up, don't touch your keyboard. And then he got arrested, and he was in, I don't know if he ended up in jail, but he lost his job, and then he kind of had a taint in his resume with working for a criminal company. So yeah, risk-free open platform. Yeah, anytime you see risk-free, unless it's coming from the government, and then you're accounting on the basis of that currency without considering any of the inflation, then that's a red flag. No implicit guarantee. Ooh, basically it says my ass is covered unless the government comes after me. Technology as a service. Ooh. Low M6 charge off. Yeah, M6 is 6 months after, so it's saying that within 6 months there are only 1.6% of the time, 1.6% of the loans that go bad. I mean, sure, assuming they are not making up the numbers, but just based on common sense, what are the chances that you're gonna collect? You know, they mentioned before, right? They said like 36, less than 36%. What are the chances that you're gonna collect 36% interest without experiencing 10% plus default? PBOC enhanced. Yes, okay. Okay, I guess I haven't checked their claim, but looks suspicious. I mean, why would PBOC care what the fuck you do with your money? PBOC is the People's Bank of China, for the people that don't know. Dun 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 dun. All right, what a complex network. Whatever that means. Maybe they're trying to say. It could be that they're saying it's like complex people to people, person to person network, or maybe it was they're talking about neural networks. In that case, that would be convoluted. I don't know. Biometric recognition. Who gives a fuck about? I mean, I guess. Okay, I take that back. I think when they say biometric recognition, they're talking about like facial recognition. So you verify it's the same person that's borrowing money as the person on the identity card when they like input their information. So okay, so that's useful, but that's also kind of trivial because there are open APIs that you can buy for like fairly cheap. Self-reinforcing model. This is what? This is like just normal machine learning. There's more data. Self-reinforcing model. Ooh. Okay, sure. Machine learning algorithms for collection resource allocation. Oh, so there. This is trying. That's actually semi interesting. That's trying to target people that are most likely to pay. So maybe they will resort to less violent means of collection and and I don't know, hit where that hurts. Maybe go to their company and say, this guy owes me money. Off balance sheet loan facilitation. This looks this I haven't followed this company very closely, but whatever this is, it looks scary as fuck. 52% of the thing is off balance sheet. Qudian's rigorous method of calculating interest rate. Why, I suppose they can be rigorous. Let's see, what are the comments? Yeah, sorry about the GSH. I mean, you got the virus and transportation would all go down, including all the airports. And for whoever that care, I'm still stuck in that, and I'm slowly adding. But don't expect a quick recovery if you're thinking that. I think this is gonna be like it could be the straw that broke the camel's back and send the entire world into recession, in which case nobody gets out unscathed. Don't all Chinese look alike? I mean, it looks more similar. We look more similar to Westerners than to us, and same is the other way around, because there are distinctive patterns of how your eyes and facial features get laid out. But if you're Asian, then the Asians would look more different. It's just how where you grew up, I suppose. Took me a while to be able to actually tell apart Italians from like French. I have like a fairly high probability of telling them apart, and then same thing as Korean and Japanese and Chinese. Took me a while to like put them into their own basket. Like, I would say 10 years ago, the Japanese look like Chinese to me. So whatever to say, says monthly IRR is blah, or APR is blah. What the fuck? This is saying they're able to calculate their interest payment? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god. What the fuck? That's on their. That is on. That's seriously on their presentation. Oh my god. That's like the bank saying, I know how to charge interest. I know how to do loan amortization. I mean, there's a thing called Excel, which, you put some numbers in, and then in case if you really want to look it up, you can search up a was like, I remember doing this once. All right, just for illustration purposes, loan amortization schedule. Right, here you go. Do that, and I saved your entire slide. Yeah, overview. So borrowers refer to funds. See, that's what I said. They number of they referred the 1.1 million people to funding partners, and I bet you they're not referring them to banks. They're referring to them to who knows what shady player. They have 11 funding partners. Wonder who those 11 are. They have some revenue, some loan balance for this. I guess that's for the open platform, because this was saying the overview open platform. 13-month loan tenure, 12K. Yeah, to put that 12K into perspective, the average income, the median income in, well, not even the median income, the average, the GDP per capita is less than 10K US, so that's less than 70K RMB, right? And then they're lending to the poorer people, so cut that in half, you're looking at 35K, so the half of their yearly income is here. Okay, so yeah, good luck with your 1.7% delinquency rate. What else are you guys talking about? What do you think there will be the future of a QD? I don't know. Maybe they turn into some professional pimp. That could be a way out, or they become a proper financial institution, and then they become regulated and do whatever. Seems like the two way out, given the regulatory changes. Blah, 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 blah. Otherwise, best to sell and to put funds in some of the future with like SQAMD or BRK. We buy 2 shares of BRK people. That's very good. 2 shares of. I have 0 shares of BRK. I like the company, but I'm afraid Buffett's gonna die tomorrow. I mean, he doesn't look like impending death for him, but yeah, he's kind of old. I'm a bit scared. I mean, there's all this talk about how the structure is going, but everybody knows the thing that keeps this company the way it is, Buffett and Munger. And when Munger dies and stops spewing his, harsh comments, I mean, who's gonna keep everybody in check? Oh, this is cool. Less than 2.7 month one delinquency. What the fuck? So after 1 month, so the first month delinquency they're not disclosing. But yeah, that seems that, yeah, no. It just looks like something that's gonna blow up. Okay, they have a growth here. They have repeated borrowers. Okay. I don't know if this is good or bad though. I mean, it's good in a sense that they would save on acquisition cost, because from what I know, the acquisition cost per client in China for financials is like hundreds of yuan. And yeah, and oh, talking about acquisition costs, there's a company called Weibo, and if you want, you can use my link, and then send me some free shares. But Weibo free share above $2 to $250. Second one's $12 to $1,400. So I got the first one, which is Groupon, which promptly on the first day of trading that I actually received it, dropped 40%. So that from a 2 plus stock that became 1.5. The second one was KHC, which when it was given to me was 30, and then it takes like 8 days for the thing to deposit. Within that 8 days, the whole virus thing has brewed, and then it became 25. But at least that's 25. So you're talking about $30 plus acquisition costs. Why are they willing to pay so much when Robinhood gives you, I don't know, CHK? Well, because that's normal in China. They think this is a normal way of doing it, and yeah, that's how they burn money. Okay. Going back, massive target of 5,000 plus potential FIs. Sure, there are plenty of shady businesses in China, that I know. Blah, 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 blah. They can do everything. Wow. From leisure to e-commerce. Okay, sure. And then take a fee. I wonder how much the fee is. This is your pimp earning. Breakthrough in micro syndication. What? Multi-layer risk management loan syndicated backed by seniors information sharing among syndicated parties. Are they talking about that 11 funding financial institution or their hooker? Behavioral based, cash flow based, social security. What social security? Maybe they're talking about like tax payment or like the deductions from pay. I don't know. Employment certificate. Okay, these are worth almost nothing. You can get fake ones fairly easily. PBOC credit information. Sure, if they have it, then everybody has it. Then how is that any better than like, duh? Enlarge addressable market. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, other funding partners. Oh, this is when we get interesting stuff. Anyways, I lost interest. Let's look at something more interesting. So I searched Qudian and hiring. So let's see what they're hiring. Let's see what you guys are talking about. But I don't trust most of the China. I don't either. Why would you? I rarely buy any Chinese company that don't pay a dividend. I don't know if their numbers are correct. I mean, you would think cash flow would be fairly easy to audit, but I heard it from the guy actually is an investor in the primary world. Essentially, he's like a VC. He's like a late stage VC. So he told me that he's seen companies that make fake transactions just before the before going public with foreign entities, and then the way they do it is the owner would borrow money externally in outside China, and then there would be like fake transactions between the Chinese entity and the foreign entity. The foreign entity would actually pay money into the Chinese entity, so that on cash flow you actually see that money coming in, and on the balance sheet the money actually grows. Balance sheet, which you can't obviously, then you'll be able to tell that there was no real transaction. But like they would do that, and then later they would reverse that transaction by doing some other fake transactions and cause the company to very quickly lose earning, so that he can pay himself back, because otherwise he owed people money and he's paying interest on it. So yeah, he's seen a bunch of that happening. And so that's one way of faking stuff. And what else is there? There are a bunch of shenanigans. I can't think of them right now, but there's a bunch of them. And then, there was a company. There was a company that claimed that they had like 300 million or 100 million. I don't remember. It's Kangdexin, of cash on hand, and at the same time they had like 800 million or some other random number of loans. So they had huge pile of cash, a huge pile of debt, and they just don't pay it down. And turns out all that money was fake. Like every single one of them. Like the entire bank account was empty, even though that on the balance sheet it says it has like hundreds of millions of yuan. And when the auditors was either the auditor or something. So somebody wanted to get the money out at that time to pay back the loan. Oh yeah, I remember. So that thing blew up because they had to pay back a loan, and then suddenly they like defaulted on it because they actually don't have the money. So yeah, 100 million, and then they got bankrupted by like a couple tens of millions of loan maturity, and yeah. So okay, so hiring. First thing you notice, they are in Xiamen. Why are they there? Like, why? The reason I'm asking is this is not a place where you can have top talents. It's just not. In China, if you want to have top talent, well, you go to Beijing, and the next place you go to is Hangzhou. Actually, it's not Shanghai. Then it's either Hangzhou or Shenzhen. So actually, I would say Beijing, Hangzhou, and Shenzhen, these are fairly similar in terms of talent quality, and then Shanghai and Guangzhou are pretty good as well. Xiamen is just not. There are not enough universities there that supply you with the programmers you need. And the what else they had? Oh yeah, they had a very good accounting. The Xiamen University is very well known for accounting, but I don't think they shouldn't be that into accounting anyways. So that's what they're hiring, and then look at the stuff they're hiring. So if you are a fintech company claiming you're doing fancy stuff with data, right? You either want some like machine learning specialist, or maybe you want to even get fancier, you call them like AI specialist or whatever. So let's say what they're hiring. First thing, how do I translate this? Instead of public relations, this is employee relations. Yes, employee relations, and pays 6 to 11K. Oh, I'll get back into why they actually went to Xiamen. I don't agree with the reason. And they have a PHP senior engineer, 30 to 50. That's fairly high paying. I would say that's fairly high paying. But why the fuck are you using PHP? Okay, if you are a PHP programmer, you want to smack me, you can't, because I'm in China. I'm hidden in one of these little 20K. iOS for 20K, Android for 20K, 20 30. I mean, that's actually fairly good paying, I would say. That's fairly HRBP. I don't know what BP is, but I know which HR is, and you know what HR is. And here, finally, they have a big data architect. So what does a big data architect do? And my Chrome management data service development. Maintain and construct. Isn't that the wrong way around? Construct and maintain, surely. Anyways, maintain and construct. High performance Hadoop, Spark, Flink, offline and real distributed computing platforms, and give performance optimization solutions given the system's pressure in advance. And provide dependable and solid data service, and this is the redevelopment of open source big data components and the research of new technologies. This redevelopment, in my world, I would call it monkey patching, but redevelopment it is. And what do they require? Oh, you just need you need good Java, Scala, Python programming capabilities, and you have to have a related degree to computer science. Well, there's no experience requirement or anything. Yeah, okay, so that's the only thing that touches a little bit on the whole data analytics stuff, but it's visualization. So what? Their whole 800 rule is written by hand? I'm sure it is, actually. I'm pretty sure it's written by hand. Because in most companies in China, AI or machine learning are like, they're like teenager sex. They talked about it a lot, but they've never been done. Okay, I'm wrong. They've never been seen. And let's look at the founder. The guy is called Luomi. He famously said, right after the IPO, that if you owe us money and you can't pay back, we count it as delinquent, of course. And then he said, and then we'll just give it to you for free as a goodwill. I'm like, what the fuck? So yes, that's what he said. There's some reporting on this guy. Yeah, don't pay attention to these numbers. Some is making fun of him in some context. Essentially, in 2018, when they were based in Beijing, what he wanted to do is move to Xiamen, and then he first he bought a piece of land in Xiamen at rock bottom low prices. So he bought them at 2,000 yuan per square meter. That's like 200 yuan per square feet if you that's how you measure things, and then divide that by 7, you end up with like $30. That's very cheap. So he bought a lot of land, and then he constructed this headquarters, the future headquarters in Xiamen, and then he sent 200 workers from the previous headquarters to Xiamen on a business trip. On the way, like halfway through that business trip, that's what he said over here. It's like they were told you were not allowed to go back to Beijing to work, right? Essentially saying like, and on that during that business trip, they announced that they're gonna move the headquarters from Beijing to Xiamen, and then they told these workers that no, there won't be any space for you to work in Beijing anymore. So there are two choices. You either leave on your own, so like, resign, or you stay in Xiamen. So yeah, so that seems like a pretty asshole move. So yeah, that's him. And he's done a bunch of other random crap. He's like failed 10 times. He failed like 10 times before Qudian, and he made it in Qudian, and then Qudian's kind of, yeah. And then what else is done? Oh yeah, he has some kind of prestigious school complex. He really want to go into Beijing University, whatever means possible, but he couldn't. And then he stole his friend's idea. So he had a friend that told him about this whole installation loan thing, and then he basically just stole it. Okay, sure. This is business, but some etiquette would be appreciated, I would say. And yeah, some random things. I don't like this person, so I'm very biased toward this company because I think the this company lacks integrity, especially the whole um, management team is. I mean, just think. There was a guy that on the comment that told me was that like, he think this company changes the strategy faster than chameleon changes colors, and I would agree with him. Like they just, you could say, oh, that's very flexible and so, but like, what the fuck? Like, some things you don't even have to do it to know it doesn't work. You don't just go into the auto sale thing. You don't become a dealership and just say, "Oh, I'm gonna become the largest dealership in China," when you were just doing financing for consumer goods. Like that doesn't cross over well. It's like me being a a coder, and then suddenly I decide I want to be, I don't know, a fisherman. Right? It doesn't work. I mean, there's no competitive advantage to you. And no, and he just burns some money there, and that shuts that down, and yeah. So, Qudian, will they go bankrupt? I don't know. No idea. Do I think this company will boom? There's a chance because they keep trying different things. You throw enough shit at the wall, something's gonna stick. Maybe the thing that sticks is gonna explode, but I think the probability is very low. Do I think they're very good at fintech? No, they're shit, because just look at the stuff they write on their presentation and look at the people they're hiring. They're not hiring the core of fintech. The core of fintech is tech and fin. The tech in here is the ability to discern, to better predict credit risk. That's not what they're hiring for. And yeah, it's a company that's just bad at their own game and trying to find something they can be good at. Now let's look at more comments and see if there's something I need to respond to, and if not, I'll go to sleep. It's 12:30. I heard most tech companies don't need that many data scientists. More dev work on model building work to go round. True. Most tech companies don't. This is fintech though. That's your core competency, right? If you're a social media or like a e-commerce business, then maybe not. Even if you're like there are plenty of tech companies that don't need that many data scientists, but even that, right? Just my company's tiny. We have like 15 employees. One of them is a data scientist. The reason is we want to be data driven in our development decisions. Right, so that's a fairly low mix, but seems like on par with theirs. And I would assume a fintech company would need more data scientists. In fact, they need to automate the work data scientists do. Why don't you take out a large loan from them, then walk away? This is one way to gain from, yeah, but how much is their CEO's promise worth? I don't want to face violent collection agencies. Can you do a review on their app like Alibaba? I did. Go back, check my previous video on them. I used their app and it was completely boring. Maybe I'm sure they've changed a lot, because that's why they needed all these Android and iOS developers. But yeah, how did Sven Kari miss stuff? He should consult you on all things Chinese. Well, I showed him my bearishness on Qudian, but he has his own way of value things. I'm more skeptical about all things Chinese than he is. I think that he, for some reason, he just more gullible in this way. A Chinese company that don't pay a dividend is it's very hard to swallow for me. Yeah. You mean biased against? Yes, I'm biased against. Yes. Why do you decide to do this? Because somebody asked for it. There were like 3 guys or 4 guys that said, "Oh, what do you think about Qudian?" Blah blah blah. But I was like, okay, it's been a year and a half since I looked at the company. I was very bearish on this company. Then I looked at Qudian. I mean, I actually shorted them for just a little bit. I think I shorted them from like 10, and then they dropped to like 6. But I only shorted tiny bits. I always short tiny bits. I mean, my Tesla shorts went from 315 down to 185 and now 900. Right? Imagine that. I mean, I closed my short at 400. I thought, holy shit, that thing is going parabolics. You don't want to stand in front of a freight train. So the freight train went to 900. Holy crap. I should have been more suspicious about that robot stock image sign. Robot stock image. I don't know what they're talking about. Whatever. What about SHI? Nothing really changed. The whole economy is tanking, so their earnings are gonna be shit, and they will pay their dividends as a percentage of their earnings. If their earning tanks by half, their dividend tanks by half. But their last year's earnings should tank about 50%, which still makes them like a 7% dividend payer given the current price. This year's earnings is going to be shit, but earnings are going to be shit for most Chinese companies this year. But does that affect their future earnings? No. So, well, at least I don't think so. They're not going bankrupt, so that's going to be fine. The other way their future earning can be affected is if the Chinese economy gets like fundamentally disrupted and everything kind of stops working. Then you end up with a few years of bad earnings, like quite a few years of bad earnings. But that's a risk you run investing in any Chinese company. That's systematic. How the virus was, what's going to spread over the entire world? There's no stopping it. I don't know why you guys still not getting it. I made a video on this. It's not stopping. It's gonna be all over the world. And my prediction is that within a month, the US is gonna have 10,000 infected, and within 2 weeks, Italy is gonna have 10,000. So that's my prediction for whatever that's worth. It's not stoppable. In China, it's somewhat controlled because you lock people down. I mean, you saw how empty the streets are, and like, unless you have that empty of streets in the other parts of the world, the spread's not gonna stop. And even it's even more ridiculous than that, because in Italy, people are discouraged from wearing masks. I'm either discouraged or banned from wearing masks. There was a guy, like, my dad is currently in Italy. His friend owns a bar, like a bar in the Italian sense. It's more like a cafe. And for whoever that went to Italy, you know what the Italian bar is. His friend owns a bar. His employee wore a mask at work, and then he got arrested, according to his friend. I don't know how that trustworthy that is, but my cousin also told me that people are not wearing masks in Italy. So if you don't alter your behavior, this thing is not going to stop spreading. Maybe by dipping, yeah, you slowly add. Don't go crazy. Like, if the thing drops 25%, add another 20% or something. I mean, you're gonna need, this is a petrochemical business. It's like a refinery. You are going to need refineries in the future. I mean, look at the US refineries, right? What happens is, there's a book called Five Rules of Successful Investing or something. I highly recommend it. um, it talks about how the refineries in US actually have a long-lasting competitive advantage. What happens is people no longer want to allocate more land for refineries. The reason being they perceive refineries to be polluting and dangerous and affects their land value. So they don't want them to expand. So okay, so they don't get their chance to expand. And then what happens is they now end up with pricing power because capacity can't be expanded. So in US they haven't built like new refineries forever. They just keep upgrading the existing ones. A good for QD. People on stock tweets or I don't know why people would say that. How this can be good for any stock other than maybe the pure online one? Maybe it's good for online gaming. It's not even good for online education if this thing don't last forever. Like, just imagine if, like, suddenly, so what happens now is people suddenly started using remote education, right? You need video conferencing. And what does video conferencing consume? A lot of bandwidth, a lot of computation power, because you need to encode and decode all that data. And where do you get all that from? You don't suddenly come up with tens of thousands of servers. And so there were companies that used to be working on remote education. You would think that would be a perfect fit. What ends up happening, they turn down deals. If they don't turn down deals, they would end up buying a bunch of equipment because you can't even get enough. It's funny, you cannot even get enough servers on AliCloud at the moment. Right? That's the extent of the computing surge, because what happened was online gaming and this education thing suddenly took off. Well, spikes are the worst. You want steadily increasing demand. You don't want spike. It's the same as you don't want a single SKU to suddenly become like a thing. Like you end up with supply disruption. You end up with excess capacity. In this case, in that case, excess inventory at the end of the fad. So yeah, I mean, and what's going to end up is that Alibaba is going to benefit from it quite a bit. I mean, you end up with more trust on Alibaba because people get information through Alibaba. You end up with a lot of people learning how to use DingTalk, which is where most of the school went for, because Alibaba have the computing resources. They can reserve computing resources for themselves on AliCloud. Other people can't. And yeah, everybody else, nah. Oil, gas losing favor. Yes, oil, gas losing favor. All this, not just oil, gas, all commodities. I mean, this is downturn. All commodities go to shit in downturns. When economy slows down, oil, gas, copper, nickel. Oh, I actually sold an Norilsk nickel like a few days ago. I like the company, but it has gotten really high, kind of expensive for me. In terms of PE, was still not too bad. That's because nickel like doubled since I bought it, and the share price doubled. And in terms of PB, it was going to something like 6 or 7. So I think that's kind of excessive. And then you have the whole slowdown because of this disease. So, are you being held against your will? I'm not being held against my will. Why am I being held against my will? I mean, if I am held against my will, then how can I use YouTube? You know it is illegal, right? Anyways, that's it. Goodbye. Okay, now I need to learn how to stop the stream properly.